A very good evening to you. How are you? I hope you are doing well and staying safe amidst the pandemic that we are now recording a very high number of people who are being infected. Keep wearing your mask and keep observing the physical distance that we are told to observe in order to keep yourself safe and everyone else around you safe. This evening, I'm very glad that you joined me tonight on Transforming Families. My name is Faith Kaulu and welcome to tonight's episode. I am gladly joined by Reverend Edward Karanja. Karibu.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, Faith. It's always a pleasure to be here in CAT TV or in the Transforming Family Ministries.
Yeah.
And like we always say, a stable family for a stable society.
Sure thing. That is all we champion for right here on Transforming Families. Reverend Edward Karanja is a minister with the PCA, Presbyterian Church of East Africa, as well as a marriage and family therapist. And on the very far end is the amazing Professor Catherine Gashuda. Asante sana, Prof, for being here tonight to transform families.
Oh yes, building families is work.
Yeah. But it is worthy work as well.
Oh yes, it is.
Yes, so guys, Professor Catherine Gashuda is an author, is a counseling psychologist, as well as the director of the Kenya Institute of Business and Counseling Studies. Asante sana for being here tonight. I'm really excited and always happy to have you on board for this special course. Tonight, we are talking about the welfare of the child because yesterday, on the 20th of November, we marked and celebrated the International Day of the Child, which is a day set aside to ensure and to create awareness on the children's welfare, as well as to ensure that each child is ensured of a brighter future. And right here, we're bringing this discussion on transforming families, where we want to understand the child as well and how we're going to give him a secure future in all aspects. There has been a documentary released recently about child trafficking in Africa, and it has been really shocking considering the numbers of missing children has been increasing each and every day on the social media. And I think people are now joining dots and connecting and saying, no wonder we have been witnessing a really high number of missing cases of children. And I'm really excited to have this discussion this evening. So I want us to begin with child safety. How should a parent ensure that the child is safe back at home? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Faith, for bringing it up. One is good to realize that the responsibility of your child stops with you. You are the parent. Ensure that your child is safe. Before you blame the school or you blame the chief or you blame the government, it's good to ensure you yourself as a parent that your child is safe. If you have to hire a nanny or a house girl, like we say in this country, or a maid, before you hire them, do a background check on them. Who is this person I'm bringing in home to take care of my child? So that way, even having a copy of the ID and everything else, you are ensuring that the person you are entrusting your child to is safe. Also asking yourself, who does my child interact with? Who is this person that keeps on coming to our home to be with our children? Even in the church, who is this church uncle or church auntie that is starting to become very close to my child? And even my baby is starting to talk good of them. You don't know whether they're starting to build a rapport with your child so that finally when they want to pick them and put them in the car, they will not complain. So as a parent, the buck stops with you. Take responsibility over your child as a parent. It's very important.
Thank you so
and
much.
Especially the parents in the informal sector. And that's where most of the child trafficking or disappearance of the children takes place.
Sure.
Again, who is this person playing with your children? If you are away in work, who do you leave your child to play with? You may not be privileged to have a nanny or a house girl, but maybe there is a society or a communal arrangement whereby you can tell who plays with my child. So that if your baby disappears, you can even know, who do I ask this person to do that? So it's important for a parent to care for their children.
For their child. I really love the fact that you brought in the church aspect because most of the time we say, they're from church, so we trust them with our child. But I mean, this could be the person that would actually pick my child from school and the child will comply because they're familiar.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, church, people expect the church is the safest place, it's holy place, so that if maybe somebody backbites you in the church, talks ill of you, you feel so hurt. But people fail to understand that the individuals in the church are the same individuals in the society. The character you see outside the society is the character you'll also see in the church. Only that the difference is this we call it a place of worship, where we gather together to worship. But we will still have evil people there. You have people who can do evil things around there.
Yeah.
So even when in the church, it is good to ensure the security of your child. I even have incidences, 2 churches, names withheld, where children disappeared in the church compound. Yes.
That's really sad.
It's very sad.
That's really sad, but thank you as well for bringing that out, Prof.
Yeah, it is a component that parents need to really look into. From the time a child is born, when they are infants or toddlers, and even as they continue growing in their early childhood, their middle childhood, their late childhood, into adolescence, in the different stages of adolescence, safety issues need to be looked into. And therefore, it's something that parents and caregivers should put thought to. In our families, we have laws, and those laws need to also take care of safety. When a child is allowed to go to church, who is accompanying that child to church? And just like Lefred has said, that the same people who are within the community who can be evil will still be the same people who are in the church.
Yeah.
And therefore, onus is on the parent, because you are the patron of the child, you are the guardian of the child, you are the custodian of the child, to make sure that safety issues regarding the child are ensured, or there is insurance around a child's safety. Take, for example, even things that we take for granted, like fire. Small children will not understand the danger of fire, and they would want to go towards fire and touch fire. When they are toddlers, they would want to touch it because they don't know the danger that lurks in the fire.
Yeah.
And the parent is the one to keep on training, keep on mentoring, keep on helping the child to be able to know what is dangerous for them and what is safe for them. Because what is safe, they can go towards that. But what is dangerous, they need to get away from that. So I would want to say that the safety issues need to be looked at for every developmental stage. And we know when a child is small, like a toddler, say like 1 year to 3 years, what are the safety issues that we need to look into? And maybe the safety issues that we can look into is even the water in the compound.
Yeah.
Haven't we had enough of stories regarding children jumping into swimming pools that are already in the compound, or even pods, or even a toilet that was being dug in the compound,
or tanks even,
or tanks, and they were not covered, and children go and they jump or they fall into those pits within the compound, or even pangas that are kept anywhere, sharp things that are kept anywhere. And a child is a child, they will go and hold that. But again, we need to think about safety issues for the bigger ones. Say like the late childhood, the puberty, when they are at their puberty stage, we are talking about 11, 12, and 13 years, and even the ones that are in their adolescent stage. Because when it comes to those, then there are different issues of safety that we need to think about as parents, and some of them would include like beer. And for the ones that stock beer and wines in the house, that is a dangerous thing. And we need to put it in the safety list that you don't stock beers, because what you're doing is to orientate them and introduce them and induct them into the use of beer. One time when they are going to be addicted, you will remember that and you're not going to like it at all.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to they're getting bigger, they can be taught how to ride bicycles or even vehicles. And as parents, you need to make sure that they are trained well. And even when they are cycling along the roads, that they can wear a helmet. How many children have we lost because they're excited about cycling around the roads, along those streets in their neighborhood, and then they get hit? So there's so many things from one developmental stage, even the friends they have is a safety factor. Are you having safe friends, or are you having very dangerous friends? Because that would mean that you're going to be introduced into a lot of things. That child is going to be introduced into a lot of things that are not going to be safe for him or her, and eventually we can lose a child because of that safety net that was not tight enough for them to be contained within the safety net.
Thank you so much for that all-inclusive aspect, which I believe is really, really important and key, especially when you mentioned about parents ensuring that their kids are trained well when it comes to riding a bicycle or driving, because nowadays what parents do is they pay, so that the kids don't have to attend all the classes and all that. But in doing so, when we think we are helping the child, we're actually putting him or her in danger because they don't know how to drive, and they'll have a license and they'll be able to drive when they don't really know how to. And thank you so much for that aspect.
And it's biblical. It's biblical. Bring up a child in the book of Proverbs. Bring up a child in the right way, the way they should go, and they'll never depart from it. So now, if you bring up a child in a way that, even if they do not know how to drive well, you can pay for the license for them to get it. You have brought them in a way, they'll never move from it. So that's why you keep wondering, why do we have all these corrupt kids around us? It's the way you brought them up. You go and a child knows they have not performed well to join a certain school, and then you have paid for them to join it. A child knows they need a job, and a parent goes and pays that they get to know that you have bribed for them to get employed. So that child will never depart from that way. Who has brought it to them? It is a parent. That's why it's necessary for the parent, like Prof is saying, to bring up the child in the right way. They will not depart from it. It's biblical.
Sure.
Yes.
Let's go back to young children who are going to school. We're about to resume schools in January. And we have kids are excited. Anyone can give them a bar of chocolate and they follow them. And that's how kids get kidnapped. What are some of the measures that parents can take to ensure that, even when I'm not with my kid, they are safe? Take, for example, there was a challenge that was going on social media where you can have a safe word with your kid. So if someone doesn't say that safe word, do not follow them. So what are some of the other ways that parents can ensure that their child are safe, even though they're far away from them?
Go, Prof.
Thank you, Bev. Everything starts with training, and we need to train our children from one developmental stage to the other developmental stage. When you are introducing a child, or when a child reaches another stage and they have to do certain activities like being sent to the shops, now you need to introduce rules and regulations around that and training around that, because now they are going out to meet other people whom they don't know, and people who can endanger them or even take them away. Like what we are talking about, the child trafficking, and how prevalent it has become in our country today. It is at that time when the parent needs to know, when this child is going out there in the larger world, in the community, in the neighborhood, what are the risks that lurk out there? If they can be taken away, then you need to talk to the child regarding that. If they can be given drugs out there, then that is something to also look into. If they can be hit by a vehicle when they are closing the road, then you need to go to the roadside and help the child to see how they close the road. And because we do not have people like in the villages or even in our residential places where people take care of the children as they are closing the roads, it is upon you as a parent or the guardian to make sure that your child has learned the skill of closing the road. If it is about like sweets and even biscuits that can be laced with drugs. Again, you as a parent, you are the one to help the child to see what are some of the goodies that can be laced with drugs, so that you can caution your child, because sometimes children, they keep away like 5 shillings and they can buy some biscuit or some sweets, but they do not know what these sweets are made of, and therefore what is going to happen is that a child is going to be caught up with drug abuse introduced to them indirectly without them realizing that this is happening. So I would want to say that onus is on the parent and any caregiver to make sure the training is done, and it is done practically, not just telling the child. Take the child exactly where you'd want them to pick a lesson, and let them pick the lesson, and at the same time put rules and regulations and discuss those rules and regulations with the children, so that they can see there for their own safety. It is not for the parent to feel good about a rule, but it's a rule that is supposed to take care and protect the child, so that the child is not hurt or harmed or even taken away.
To ensure the safety for the children, I will just add up on what Professor has said. Like I said in the beginning, the responsibility begins and stops with the parent. When you have a very young child, it is always good to ask yourself, who do I want to trust this child to? So there are questions you need to dialogue with yourself. Why do I have a baby? Who do I want to entrust this child with? What is more important to me? Is it my job? Is it my child? Is it my business? Is it my child? The person I'm leaving this child, do I trust them? Because even some of the problems we give children to is because we have entrusted our children to some people, but yet we are not showing the people we have entrusted children to like we trusted them. So trust the person you are leaving the baby with. And ensure you have done that. Then have some, ground rules in your home. Like you're having the challenge of a word, which is this word that you follow. Have some ground rules. Like from the word go, never ever eat a chocolate from a stranger. Never take a sweet from a stranger. And never, have some ground rules from the word go. Tell the child, don't do this, don't do this. And the more you keep repeating that to the child, it does grow with them. I grew up with a ground rule. You do not pick anything on the roadside. That's a ground rule. You find money on the roadside, you could not pick it. And I remember my older brother, picking at 10 cents those days was still not very little money. You could buy a piece of sugar cane. So at 10 cents, he picked it somewhere, and then he came home, and my grandmother made him beat him up for picking it up and told him to go back and return the 10 cents where he had picked it. Return it there. So it was a ground rule that you don't pick people's things. And it has grown up, it grew up with me, that even today, somebody's thing is their thing. You drop something, I'll tell you have dropped something, because I grew up with that ground rule. So it is necessary for you as a family to ensure that the children are safe, have some ground rules. But when we have this free for all, children rights, you can talk whoever you want to talk to, you can go with whoever you want to talk to. That freedom thing of, I think every uncle who comes by, you can hug them. You can even have some ground rules for the girls. Don't ever hug a boy. Don't ever hug a male. Either they are whoever don't. A male comes home, you shake their, they want to hug, you say, no, mommy said I don't hug men. You can have some ground rules for your children all the way. Like now, I thank God for the COVID-19. With the COVID-19, no shaking hands. So teach your children, don't shake hands. So even when this thing is over, you can decide, no shaking of hands. If somebody stretches us, say, Daddy said, we wave at the guest. Have some simple ground rules. Yes, that will help a lot.
Help and go a long way.
Yes.
Let's speak about safety of kids with nannies very briefly, because you mentioned that you should trust whoever you're leaving your child with.
Yes.
How safe are the kids with the nanny, and are there any, I'd say, special thing you need to look at before you hire a nanny to ensure that this one I can trust, this one not quite sure?
I think we appreciate as a country that most of our nannies are girls who were not able to complete their schooling and who are coming from very disadvantaged households. And so because of that, they come with their own issues that they have not been able to deal with. A lot of hurts and pain that is coming from lack from where they are coming from. And therefore, when they go to take care of children and they have not been able to deal with those issues and conflicts that they are having, definitely we have seen the results. And a time needs to come when we can have nannies being trained, whether they are going to be trained as house managers, so that they can be able to take care of the children well. Because again, lack of skills can make a nanny to injure or hurt a child. Take for example, and I like that example because it comes from the CEO of TVET CDAC. If it's about bathing the baby, what is the size of the karai that you're supposed to use in bathing the baby? And what is the temperature of the water that you're using? And if you're going to use your elbow, what is the temperature of your body when you're sick? Because you can be sick when you're bathing the baby. And what are the implements that you're supposed to keep by the side near where you're bathing the baby, so that you have not forgotten firstling and you have learned into the room to get the firstling or even the soap, and the baby is already in the water. And the baby can drown in the karai because we have said it can be any karai, because we have not said for our babies in Kenya, our national standards are that this karai needs to be this size, and the volume of the water needs to be this. So you can fill the karai with water and then put the baby there. And that can be a very risky situation. Therefore, training our nannies is something as a country that we need to get into. Because you imagine, because you have employed them, that they know what to do. But many a times they do not know what to do. And as Lefred has said, if that is coupled or doubled with us mistreating the baby nannies, then the only way they can vent and project whatever we are doing to them is on the children. And so the children suffer because of their parents who have not checked whether this girl has skills, or even take the girl through the training so that they can learn the skills, or even know whether they have issues they have not resolved so that they can be taken for counseling. How many employers of the nannies take their house girls for counseling, or do they shout at them and tell them those things that are very hard even to reason with our ears? So I would say yes, the issue of the nanny has been a new thorn in the flesh, not only in Kenya but even the world over. But then what do we need to do, because there is something that we can do to save our children of what they have been going through.
Do not move a muscle. We're going on a very short break, but we'll be right back.